Most of the time I record a voiceover, I get a script, I record it, and I deliver a single audio file. But sometimes you might need to split a recording into multiple different files. And for some projects, like some video games, you might have to deliver hundreds or even thousands of files, each named very specifically according to the schema set forth by the client. If you do this all manually by copying and pasting names, it can be very confusing, time-consuming, and a real pain. So today I want to show you how I take care of these kinds of projects using Reaper. Okay, so here we have a project set up in Reaper. I've got a script open in the background, and I've got a single track here, and it is armed for recording. So this is normally how this kind of script will show up. It's usually in an Excel document. You have a column with the file name, then you have the actual script or the utterance that needs to be said, and sometimes you have a column with like notes on tone or some kind of direction. So what I'm going to do is there are a couple ways of doing this, and I'm going to just go through and do it the simple way first for short utterances like this. Hello. Hi. Hey. Good morning. Okay, so as you see, I've been recording here, and each utterance I've put into a separate clip. So I haven't just like let it go. I've stopped after every line and started a new clip. What I can then do is I can highlight all these and turn them into regions. Now, I won't show you in this video how to set up the key commands for all of this, but you can always customize all of these in the actions panel up at the top. So for me, it's Shift-Command-R, and that turns these clips into regions. If I hit Shift and click on this, I can change the name of this particular clip. But I don't want to do that now because that would be naming all of these manually. So I'm going to hit cancel here. So that's the kind of simplest way of doing things, where you record, you create a region out of each clip, and then you can export each region as a separate audio file. Now, what happens if you get to a longer script like this, where you might need to do it you might need to pause in the middle of it? Well, let me show you a couple of different ways of doing this. Yesterday, I went to the store. On my way home, I got caught in the rain and got absolutely drenched. My groceries were in a brown... So there I made a mistake. I started to say brown bound paper bag. So I screwed that up. I just put my cursor here and then I record again. My groceries were in a brown paper bag, and everything got so wet, the bottom of the bag split and all my shopping dropped out onto the sidewalk. There were apples literally rolling into the storm drains. Okay, so what I have here now is 3 different clips. Now, there are 2 ways of creating a region out of this. The first is useful if you've got mostly little utterances that are just easily going to be, recorded in one clip. But if you're doing lots of longer sections like this, the second way is going to be better. So the first way is to glue these together. So I'm going to glue them together into a single clip. So now this is all just one clip, and I can create a region out of it. Okay, so that's the first way. So let me undo that. The second way is to just create the region manually like this. So I've put bounding markers on the end and then created a region out of it. And then I can move the cursor to the next section and keep going. Yes. No. Maybe. Thanks. You're welcome. Okay. So, and of course you can use both methods in the same document. When you create a region out of a clip like this, it names it according to like the track name. Whereas if you create a region manually, like what I did here, it just gives you the region number, but doesn't actually supply a name. So the name is blank. Now what we want to do, so now we have our regions created for all of these. How do we rename this according to this, these kind of just random strings of letters here? What we want to do is we're going to go up here to View, and then we want to go to Region Marker Manager. Okay, so here we have all of the regions, and you can see that region 5, the one we created manually, is blank. What we now want to do is we want to select this, and we want to hit Export Regions Markers. So we're going to get this window come up and we're going to save it as a CSV file. So I'm just going to hit save. Okay, so now I've opened this CSV file in Numbers. Now, there's a weird thing. I haven't quite figured this out I use a Mac, and for some reason, when I open the CSV file in Excel, something gets mixed up and messed up with the time codes. Whereas if I do it in Numbers, it doesn't happen. So like the time codes are automatically reformatted. And so everything ends up a few milliseconds off, and it's really frustrating. So I just opened the CSV files in Numbers and it works fine. But if it works in Excel, great. But the process ends up being the same. I've got something automatically turned on that shouldn't be turned on, and I just haven't figured out what that is yet. But this works fine, so I just do it this way. So what I do is I come in here, and I'm going to copy this list of names, and I'm going to come in here, and then just replace that column. Now I need to export this as a CSV file. And I'm going to replace the existing one. Now I can go back to Reaper. I can right-click on this, select Import Regions Markers, Replace Existing, select the CSV file, click Open, and now all of the regions have been renamed. So we can close this, and if we look on the timeline, all of the regions are named exactly as they are in the Excel document. So we're good. So now that we have our regions set up and all named correctly, we need to export them as separate files. So I'm going to pull up the export window. We're going to put in our directory where we want these exported to. And you can just click Browse to do that. And then for the file name, what we're going to do, the name of this Reaper document is called Splitting Files. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to hit Wildcards. And for this one, where we want the region specifically, I'm just going to hit region, and what that'll do is that'll only give you the name that's in the region here, this random string of letters and numbers that we had under file name. You can, however, combine many things. So let's say you want the file name, but you want it in order that's in this document here. What you can do is you can select the wildcard region number, and then like a dash, and then region name, or just region. And that will actually then make this file 1, and then AJKF, blah, 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 and the content will be hello. And this will be file 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But we want the file names exactly as they are, so we're just going to put region. You then select all of the details, whether you want an MP3 or WAV, and then the important thing is up at the top here, instead of exporting the entire project, you're going to hit all project regions. And so now we have render 10 files, and that's what we're going to do. And that's it. Now we can open the folder, and here are all of those files. So here's the first one, because that was number 1, but now they're not in order because they're listed alphabetically in here. A couple of other small points here. What happens if a client wants a certain amount of space on the beginning or at the end of a recording? Well, you can come in here before you create your regions, and you can kind of tidy up the audio. So you can, you can just change the regions like this so that it's bounded right around the audio. If you want, no space on either side, you could just, change the move the audio tracks around or shorten them, lengthen them, what have you. The other thing you can do is when you go to export, you can add a tail. So if they want a certain amount of space after the recording, you can say 1,000 milliseconds. So that'll be 1 second of silence after the recording. So that's really useful. The other thing is that if you are concerned about the order and you need to export things with a specific order number and you forget a recording and you need to add that in, one thing that you can do is you can, come in here, you can move everything over and then add that in. What's up? Right? So you got your recording in here. Let me just make a region out of that. Just tidy that up. And okay, so let's then move everything over. Let me turn snapping on here so that's then clean. Oops, let me do that first. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now what happens is if I open that region render matrix, this one's at the very bottom, but it's actually located somewhere in here. So what you can do is you can select renumber in timeline, and that's then moved back up to where it is on the timeline. That's super useful. You can use this even if you're doing like an audiobook and you need to add in like a chapter title or something like that, and you've got hundreds of regions. And they need to be in sequence. So that's a really useful thing that you can just renumber them in that region render matrix thingy. So there you have it. Hopefully that's useful. I hope I wasn't too unclear. It can be a bit confusing doing this, but I was so relieved the first time I figured out how to do this. I was working on a project that required hundreds of files, and looking down the barrel of that, doing that manually was not something I was looking forward to. So this has saved me hours and hours and hours of time and just makes life so much better, because the part I enjoy is the recording, not naming files. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and head over to arcticvox.com to hear some of my demos. Feel free to get in touch with me if you'd like to use my voice for a voiceover. Thanks again, and see you next time.